And I think we're
Are we?
live. We
Think we're
are.
live?
We're live. It says
We're
we're
live!
live.
Hello! Hello, sir.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm living the dream. Doing
You
all
know
right.
what? You know what? Dreams are good. Living the dream
Small
is
town
good.
girl living in a lonely world. Took that midnight train going anywhere.
Nowhere, somewhere, anywhere.
Well, it got me to Calgary.
Got
So,
you to
I mean,
Calgary. I mean, I am in Calgary too, so I mean, I guess that's the thing.
I had an interesting midnight train to anywhere sort of journey because I went from a town of like 3,000 people
Mhm.
to Calgary, then to Lethbridge, which was much more my speed.
Lethbridge?
Well, it's big enough that there's usually something to do,
Mm,
especially compared to back home, where it's,
yeah.
a half an hour drive to the nearest anything.
Anything?
Yeah. The the greatest injustice that my wife ever witnessed was trying to order pizza in my small town back home, and she was like,
Oh.
she was a half a bottle of Crown in, and she's like, "We need pizza." It's like, "Oh, that doesn't happen here."
Good luck.
Like, what do you mean? Well, there's one pizza place, and you had to order like 4 hours ago, before they closed at 6 p.m. And she's like, "This is bullshit."
Where's the McDonald's?
A 30-minute drive down the highway in the next town. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Roll for
Hello.
Beer, our semi-weekly beer drinking, game chatting podcast of
Podcast.
doom.
Doom. Oh no.
Because we have a theme tonight,
Evil.
and that theme is evil and
And
seltzers.
And
So evil
seltzers. No, it's seltzers, the necessary evil.
Hey, necessary or not, like, come on, you know.
Yeah, well, you know what? I have drank some seltzers from time to time.
Now, I've drank some seltzers. I've drank too many seltzers at once, too many times.
Yes, it's almost like it's a pretty big drink nowadays. I
Yeah,
actually don't have the exact market data for it, but it is huge the amount of seltzer drinkers since the pandemic.
I, I got into seltzers. You know what? I need something that's not a seltzer in my hand first. So,
Oh,
through the magic of not using any post production, I'm gonna go like, ah, and there's beers, but I
and
need I need to pick a beer first.
yeah, so we need a roll for that. I've
You
got
do.
6 beers on deck myself. How about you?
I have 4 beers on deck myself,
Ooh, so we got a D4 and a D6 going into our rolling
going into a
thingamajigs.
D12. 3, 2,
2,
1.
1. Yeah.
That's
Mine's
a
still
3.
rolling. That's a 2.
So I've got. You know, it's interesting because we've been talking about this Chat GPT
Yes.
lately. Because tonight I am drinking Turing.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to ask you a question. Am I going left to right or right to left?
You're going right to left.
Right to left. Ooh, that would give me the aeronaut.
Aeronaut. That was my number 2, actually,
Yeah,
tonight.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So, Turing
And
is a passion fruit guava wheat ale.
yes,
That would be 4.6%. The artist on the can is Nathan Miller. And it's fucking bitchin'.
yeah,
It's got
I really do like the Turing's can art.
it's
It's
got
great.
some monolith sort of deal to it. I might just
Oh,
um
oh.
grab the zero issue art for it and throw it up because we've still got
Yeah.
Toontown there.
Oh yeah,
And as
we both drank that last time.
yes,
Yes.
as much as here it is. I really love that he's got them all on his banner.
Yeah.
Turing. There you go. Bear with me
Yeah.
half a sec.
No, that's easy. But I mean, and I'll go over the aeronaut, which is a white wine barrel peach goes, which I mean,
There it
it's just
is.
damn good. It's really good. So I'm very happy to be drinking this one.
You ready? 3,
Yep.
2, 1. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Like the art on the screen. For folks that are tuning in on YouTube, I'll generally try and throw the can art up if possible.
Yeah.
Um, it's got these like 2001: A Space Odyssey sort of vibes to it because it's got this big monolith, and of course, the Turing test and all of the AI conversations we've been having all week. That's, you know,
Yeah, that's kind of fitting. This glass is not big enough for a 473 ml can. This makes
you
me a
know,
little sad.
I thought you were gonna say this glass is not clean.
No, after I poured the beer, it's like, ah, no, no. I just got these glasses, but no, it's like it doesn't fit a 473 ml can. I'm a little sad right now.
It's kind of interesting because in the same vein of Turing, and I think I'm gonna segue the conversation a little bit from or on the topic of evil into the evils of AI
Evils of AI. Well,
and how it can influence our Dungeons and Dragons game.
well, yes, but first of all, let me just talk about this beer quickly.
Yes.
The Aeronaut white wine barrel peach goes. It's their 47th or 74th issue with the artist Nicholas or Ian Nicholas, who is one of their standard artists. And I mean, I absolutely love this one too.
That's some Eberron shit right there.
Oh, it's
That's
some Eberron shit, and I love it. Airships going through the ether. I love that
Did
stuff.
you ever read The Aeronaut's Windless?
Oh, it sounds so familiar.
It's by Jim Butcher, the guy that did
Hmm.
all of the Harry Dresden books.
Okay, yeah.
It's the Cinder Spires series.
Cinder Spires. No,
Yeah.
it sounds good though.
No, actually, I wonder if there was a sequel yet. It doesn't look like it yet,
No, that's fair.
but I've got a copy. I'll next time I see you, I'll send you home
Hmm.
with it. It's
Sounds good.
about uh it's good book sized.
It's
It's about it's about half the height of a regular can of beer.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're we're talking about 178
You
give or
know what?
take
Let me
milliliters.
let me confirm that. Page count. 600 pages in the Aeronaut's Windlass.
Okay, 600 pages. So that's a good size.
643 pages to be exact.
Uh,
Yeah, it's worthwhile. It's a really good book, and it
yeah.
gives you that like steam powered technology, magic wielding warriors sort of.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Deck.
So about 177 mil can
Yeah,
if we're going by half regular size can.
give or take. Yeah, it's got some heft to it,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, we. What would you like to start in on?
Oh, I don't know. Like we always start off with my topic, which tonight is seltzers and things like that.
Well, I mean, the overarching topic is evil and
Sorry, you're right.
necessary
Sorry.
evils.
The overarching is necessary evils and evils to do with
Evil.
the liquor industry if we're going to be talking about that. And that would be dealing with reps. No, I love my reps. I should say this. But no, I mean, a necessary evil is probably my RTD section, is my ready to drinks, seltzers,
Yep.
the cores, the or not cores, that's another necessary evil we'll talk about another day. Uh, but no, we're talking about seltzers and the rise of the ready to drinks, the canned cocktails, even if you will,
You know,
which is a
the first
growing
time
segment.
I ever had a canned cocktail was at our
Mm.
friend Melissa's wedding.
Oh,
There was like Crown and Coke in a can,
yep.
and I'm like, "What is this? This is great. This is great." They're a little shy on the Crown,
They're a little shy on the crown, a little heavier on the sugar.
but
And
for camping,
for
that seems
camping,
like a great idea.
absolutely wonderful. Teas, like I mean, those are still in the same section. It is a necessary evil because they are absolutely delightful. I am a big fan of my RTD section.
Mhm,
And I mean, they are a huge part of my section in general.
mhm.
For talking about beer and selling beer and things like that, they're a huge part of it because, well, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yep.
You want to get started on something light? Well, we got the White Claws for that. You want to start on something even lighter? We got neutrals, we got nudes, we got there's
Yeah.
so many different types of ones.
See, I've fallen into a couple of traps.
Mm.
I went and did keto a couple of years ago, and so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be good. I'm not drinking beer. I'm gonna drink White Owl whiskey because if I'm just gonna be sitting going to a pub with my friends and drinking, I'm
Mhm.
gonna drink something that's fucking delicious. White Owl, not a sponsor yet. Like they make I drink a lot of whiskey. Like
Mhm.
whiskey is my drink of choice.
Yes.
I drink whiskey and I drink scotch. White Owl spiced white vodka or white whiskey, sorry,
Yep.
is probably in my top 3 of all whiskeys of all time. And I like 25-year-old scotches, and they make fucking good whiskey. Like really good. And
I
sometimes you just have to mix it with something
Mhm.
because you're milking it for a while.
I I cannot actually drink White Owl.
Why? Do you have a bad
Um,
experience?
I have a very bad experience.
Okay. Show me on the dolly, where the show me on the dolly where the white owl hurt you. Was it in
uh,
your mouth?
Everywhere. It's
Okay.
just
Everywhere.
everywhere, everywhere. So silly story is to go with it is basically friends of ours. We all went down and we started just drinking, and we all just started getting hammered, and we were drinking, of course, White Owl. What did we pair with White Owl whiskey, might you ask?
What did you do?
Cigars.
Oh, I
Cigars and White Owl whiskey.
no. No, I can't do it. I can't. I'm in a similar boat with Wisers. Like a lot of people
Yep.
like Wisers. I had a 14-year-old boy experience with Wisers, and just thinking about it, I can't help, and I'm sorry for the microphone noises, but I can't help but like, "Blah."
Wow.
The problem with
Wow.
Wisers is it gets in your mouth.
the the problem with Wisers is you put it anywhere near you, and yeah,
Mhm.
no, it's everybody has those experiences and those stories. Technically, the necessary evils of growing up.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I would argue to that very point. But
Everybody who drinks has this story.
yeah, cousin of mine threw up in a trumpet. It was hers. It's fine. No. They,
One time
to
at
the
band
point though,
camp.
I started mixing with club soda,
Mm,
and that's your seltzer mix right there is some
yeah.
kind of a whiskey and club.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then, we got gifted a big old box of White Claws, and it's like, "All right, yeah, like, that's reasonably refreshing when they're cold on a hot day."
Oh yeah.
And eventually, it's just like, what am I putting in my mouth? I don't like these. What am I doing?"
The best description I've ever heard for some of the seltzers is one of my beer guys. He We were talking and he was like, I don't like seltzers. I don't like this type of seltzer. I don't like White Claw. I don't like Nude. I don't like Neutral. I was like,
Mhm.
why? Like, explain to me why you don't like this. He's like, all right, say you're in this 4x4 room, or like a small room, and in one corner there's a TV that all it's playing is static.
Yep.
It's all it's playing. I'm like, okay. Now, imagine there's another guy in the other corner of the room screaming the name of a fruit. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
And you just have a glass of fizzy water with you. Just slightly fizzy water. And you're drinking that while there's static in the left ear and some guy screaming a fruit in the other.
That sounds about right, actually.
That's the seltzer.
So, riddle me this, because
Yes.
I don't drink seltzers much.
Yeah.
I'll just pour a glass of whiskey at this point.
Yes.
My my weakness. It used to be twisted teas while camping
Mm,
until I drank entirely too many of them,
yes.
and you never get that film off your teeth. Like,
No.
it's bad. But so I like Arizona green tea.
Mhm.
They are delicious. They sell them in juice boxes.
Yes, they
It's
do.
great.
Great stuff.
It's what got me through college is drinking those.
Oh,
I
yeah,
drank a lot of them.
100%, 99 cents, let's go.
And yeah, 99 cents, let's go. And now they put booze in them, and
Mhm.
they're really good. Like, they have no business being delicious and alcoholic at the same time.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the time, depending on the type of seltzer, there's different
Well,
alcohols
and
that they
it's
can
it's not
use.
really a seltzer at that point because there's
No,
no carbonation to it.
no, and those are considered more on the RTD or the ready to drink side
Yeah.
of things, which seltzers are a part of that category, but there's like different kind of categories
Well,
for it.
it's like a twisted tea isn't technically a seltzer, it's
No,
tea.
it's a tea. It's a hard tea, which
Yeah.
basically just means you're taking a tea beverage and you're adding some kind of alcohol to it.
It's like, what is it? I had a vodka cran thing.
Yeah.
I don't recall the people who made it, but you crack it, there is no fizz,
Yeah.
really. It is alcoholic juice.
Yeah, there is a certain I believe there's a certain term for like still ready to drinks RTDs. RTD stands for ready to drink. And what that is basically a category of Smirnoffs, teas, or hard seltzers, etc., things like that. And there's, like I
So,
said, there's lots of things that fill under that
do
category.
beers count as RTDs?
They do not.
Because they're already their own prominent category?
They're already their own prominent category, which is a specifically brewed item.
Now
Like the alcohol comes from the grains, which come from the yeast, etc. It is not a juice with something added.
now I have to say, though, because my brain immediately goes to, if they're not, um, classified as ready to drink, that then infers that beer is intended to be the mix in an alcoholic beverage, and what I should be doing is mixing hard alcohol into my beer
Well,
like I
all
do when
right.
I camp.
All right. Well, then, what we will do is on a different episode, we will talk about beer cocktails.
That's fair. But not Caesars because
Not Caesars or Red Eyes, because whoever drinks those are abominations to humankind.
yeah,
I'm sorry if you do drink those.
I'm not. Oh, none of that. So, that being said, now that we've gotten a little bit of the evil out of the way,
Yes.
we're gonna look at a couple of things, and I'm gonna read you something
Okay. All right. All
for
right. I'm ready.
for our for our listening pleasure.
Okay. I'm getting ready here to listen to something.
Let me load this up quick. In the land of Faerun, a group of adventurers have come together to form a party and embark on a quest. The group consists of a half-elf ranger named Alara, a human rogue named Alden, a dwarf barbarian named Grimbold, and a halfling wizard named Nyla. The party's been tasked with defeating a powerful mechanical warlord named Gorgon the Ironclad, who's been terrorizing the land with his army of mechanical suits of armor. Gorgon is said to be in possession of a powerful eldritch artifact that grants him control over the suits of armor and allows him to summon powerful magical beings to do his bidding. As the party begins their journey, they encounter a variety of challenges and obstacles along the way. They must brave treacherous mountains, navigate dark forests, and face off against dangerous monsters. Eventually, the party reaches the warlord's stronghold and begins a fierce battle against Gorgon and his army. During the battle, Alara is gravely wounded and taken prisoner by Gorgon, who plans to use her as a sacrifice to the eldritch beings he commands. The rest of the party manages to rescue her and defeat Gorgon, but not before unleashing the full power of the eldritch artifact. You see where I'm going with this from our chats the other night. In the ensuing chaos, the party is forced to flee, but not before Nyla manages to grab the artifact and bring it with them. As they continue their journey, the party must confront the dangerous magic of the eldritch artifact, which has begun to exert its influence over them. Nyla, in particular, struggles to control the powerful magic within her. As they journey on, the party encounters a beautiful elven sorceress named
Sarsaparilla.
Isadora, who is searching for that very same artifact. The two groups join forces and continue their journey together. Along the way, two members begin to develop feelings for each other, but they must put aside their romantic interest in order to play a quality game of Dungeons and Dragons. Um, as they continue their quest to defeat the Eldritch beings and destroy the artifact. In the end, the party succeeds in their quest and are hailed as heroes. Elara and Alden confess their love for each other and decide to start a new life together, sans adventuring. The party goes their separate ways, but will always be remembered for their bravery and heroism. So that's a pretty stereotypical, like reasonably well laid out adventure.
Yeah,
Like,
for a synopsis, yes.
yeah. So when you go to Chat GPT and you say, write a compelling Dungeons and Dragons adventure that includes a hero's journey, some mechanical suits of armor, fantastical magical eldritch beings, and maybe some romantic love interests, go. And that is what the AI spit out at me.
And that's neat. And I
It's-
and I do like that because it does lay out like a set path and stuff like that. But there were some weird things for me anyway.
yeah,
Like
it's
and
not
and
it's not perfect, but
no, but it's pretty damn good.
this is at least as good as 12-year-old James would have written for an adventure.
This is as good as 18-year-old Riley would do when he's trying to figure out how D&D works. No,
Yeah.
it's definitely not bad, but there, like I said, there are some weird things with the way how it was written.
'Cause, well,
Did you read it 100% verbatim?
yes.
Okay, yeah. There was definitely a couple of things I was like, wait a minute. She was searching for the artifact, but they already had the artifact, things like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. But at the end of the day, I can take something like that and I can easily spin off an adventure path
Mhm.
and use it as a mechanical sounding board for writing adventures,
And
right?
that, yeah.
Versus like calling up my buddy Laurier and being like, here's what I'm thinking. And he's like, what about this? And I'm like, oh, I like that. How about this? And he's like, oh, that seems like a good idea. And don't get me wrong, I love chatting with my friends, but y'all don't y'all aren't awake at 2 in the morning.
As
Sometimes.
you.
Sometimes. But so I can use this as a sounding board back and forth.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are upset about this kind of thing because and they're like, oh, it's the downfall of the college essay or whatever. And I'm like, I'm looking at this in one of two ways. And we talked
Mm.
about this a lot on our Discord the other night.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad I didn't get a chance to write in as much on that just because it's an interesting
Working.
discussion. It's a really interesting discussion.
Like I from the chat perspective of it, what you can end up doing is use this to bounce ideas.
Mhm.
You can use it to uh flesh out different paths, and like you can mine it for ideas or you can help it refine your story. So you take what you've written and say, make this a little more eloquent, like add a romantic element to this, or now how would I do this but with giant robots that fight each other while blaring heavy metal plays in the background.
And that's what I like about the whole AI art and like script writing or writing or whatever is it's a good like solid start. And I don't know, there's parts of me that kind of go, are they going to replace human writers and human artists anytime soon? No.
No. Well, and it
No.
uh, much like the conversation I had with Mac on this is like, he's a hardcore like fuck these guys, right? Like just straight up, he's like, no, no, fuck these guys. But working in a design industry where a lot of this, like, you know, this I absolutely see how technology like this can be a problem for a bunch of creative folks.
Well, 100% because somebody's gonna be like, I can just give it to an AI and it will they'll
At the
take
same
it and they'll
time,
make it amazing.
so my mom's a painter,
Yes.
and so she paints on canvas and sells her works and stuff. And to somebody like my mom, who
Mhm.
works in oils on canvas, being like, "Oh, I'll just get somebody to do it in Photoshop," is the exact same thing. She's like, "It's not art. You're just clicking a mouse." And it's like, "Well, it's a different sort of canvas. It's still art."
Yeah. It's still
And it's
art.
like,
It's just a different canvas.
uh, and it's like, you're just using a blue that somebody sampled after mixing and knowing what they were doing and then made it available to you. You never learned about how to mix that particular blue, or in the same sort of vein, uh, as a musician, is the music that I make using a DAW less real than the music I make with those guitars? And I don't
Hmm.
think it is. It's just a different instrument, right?
Exactly.
Like, and it's gonna be interesting to see in the next, I'm gonna call it 5 years, because I think it'll be much faster than folks think, what this does to art. Because when I think of this, I think of, like, um, what does this do to the value of human art? Because right now, there's this big push for, "No, I want you to paint it once, and then I wanna make 25,000 copies of this to go do a thing,"
Yeah.
right? Versus, "I did this once, and this is the only one of its kind because I did it just like this for you." And
Yeah.
you can find, watercolors a dime a dozen at every garage sale and,
Hmm.
you know, community fair and things like that. And I made a comment, I think I'm gonna stick by it. It's like, Crayola suddenly becomes the new Apple because all of a sudden Crayola's cornered the market on art supplies, and Apple's not necessary anymore because it's not needed to make high-priced, um,
And
bits
I
of
think
bits of art.
and I think there is something to be said about actual physical art. Like
Yeah.
I've got a couple of friends, Lisa LaRose,
Mhm.
example. It's like
Yeah, she
she's
did your,
she does the night
that
that's
one.
up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And absolutely amazing artist. And I'm not afraid for her,
Yeah.
kind of thing like that. Like her originals, her canvas stuff, fucking phenomenal things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like I said, I'm not worried for her.
Yeah.
I'm worried for the people who do the small pieces of art or things that just go for graphic design for portfolio type or like for small templates or for whatever.
Well, and it's interesting, like, 30 years ago,
Pamphlets, that's
if you wanted somebody to design you a logo, you would have somebody physically design you a logo, bring in the
Mhm.
the thing, and here's the physical copy of your logo. Off you
Yeah,
go. And now it's, give me 10 minutes in Photoshop, off it
I
goes.
got this.
And
Yeah.
there's it's not like that's bad,
No.
but much like what chat's commenting on, AI art is a new tool.
Yeah.
And one of the concerns with that new tool is that the A you can look at it from the perspective of every artist that's ever lived is already ripping off and taking, uh, influence from every other artist that's always ever lived.
Yeah.
And you see this in music a lot with the whole lawsuits about, like, they played, like, these 3 chord shapes. And it's like, cool, people have been doing that since those chord shapes have existed. You don't own chord shapes.
How often do those lawsuits actually
They don't.
work? They
They don't.
don't?
They don't. And it's a good precedent that they don't.
Yeah.
Right? Some of the really high profile ones that just keep getting shot down. Like, there are occasionally things where it's like, no, you straight up ripped off this person's song and then did it for your own without giving them credit. But the
Yeah.
ones that are like, no, your song is too technically close to this other song, it doesn't really happen. Um,
Okay, so, like, for example, I'm just gonna use, like, one of the most famous examples, Ice Ice Baby.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that was, a misattribution, or a misattribution lawsuit where,
Mhm.
um, they were pulling from samples because they
Mhm.
were they were doing sampling, but there wasn't, uh nothing was attributed to the original artists for it, and they should have.
Yeah.
The majority of that, it wasn't so much they stole it, it was they were told that it was okay to use it, and it actually wasn't,
Got it.
right? Versus, there was a Dua Lipa track, I think this past year, and a bunch of the beats on that are really strikingly similar to this reggae funk band that, released something a little bit before that.
Oh,
And, like,
interesting.
you can listen to them side by side and be like, "Oh, yeah, no, I totally get that this is where the beat's coming from." But it was a case of nobody, nobody worked on either of those albums independently, and, like, of all the people that or, nobody that worked in either of those camps talked to each other. It just kind of worked out in a
Um,
weird way that way, because
interesting.
there's only so many notes, and it's in slightly different keys, and it's just a thing. They used a very similar beat. And part of the lawsuit was like, "Yeah, we didn't sample from them. We sampled from these, like, guys back in the '90s because we really liked that, like, that arrangement."
Interesting.
Um, and they didn't take enough of it to be like, "Yeah, we totally, like, remixed their song." They just took, like, a drum beat and stuff from an
Interesting.
existing track. That's the nature. Like, music royalties are weird because there's so much that's, like, Creative Commons you can just use.
Right.
Um
Speaking of creating commons, sorry, slight tangent, and then we'll get back to D&D, I swear to God.
mhm,
Um,
million monkeys on a million keyboards. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Common licensing and what's kind of coming up is really cool. Like,
Mhm.
we just had Winnie the Pooh, for example,
Yep.
just come up on the creative licenses
Mhm.
or and things like that. And it's just like, what else from Disney is coming up? Because I know there's a lot of things coming up.
Yeah. Well, and it's The Grinch. I don't know if you
Are you
I
serious?
showed you that trailer because
Yeah.
people can make Grinch movies now
Oh shit.
because it's past its thing. Um,
Oh.
but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So, that being said,
Yes.
the issue with the necessary evils or the AI generated art
Yeah.
stuff, and we'll get into the uh, gamification of this soon,
Mhm.
is the right now, a lot of people are like, "Oh, yeah, it's just, like, you can't be butthurt about it because it's just sampling, like, artists that already exist, and regular humans do that all the time." You see
Yeah.
stuff, and you're like, "Oh, that's a really cool piece of art, Zero Issue Brewing. I really like that. I'm gonna draw something in that style, in the style of the artist of, uh, Nathan Miller drew that blue bit that you see on the
Yeah.
screen there, if you're watching this on YouTube and
I
not on a podcast."
It is a damn cool piece. Just look it up if you're
Yeah,
listening to podcasts. Like,
yeah,
pause the podcast, look it up, replay us, or I mean, I guess you could just continue listening to us.
yeah. Yeah, it's fine. You get to look at my
Podcasts.
face, but yeah. Um, but that being said, the issue is that these AIs are sampling existing works and then just kind of,
Yes.
like, slightly modifying them and generating things. So, but eventually, it will get to the point where the AIs are sampling other AIs that have sampled other AIs that have sampled other AIs, and it's like,
Yep.
draw this in the style of, Midjourney's, 400 million art pictures that they did on December 7th, 2022, please,
Mhm.
and go with there. Um, but yeah, it's interesting because I've used a bunch of this AI generated art to generate some of our Naylor stuff,
Oh yeah, 100%.
and you guys haven't really noticed.
Okay, pause. The city, the Elven City.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope,
Okay.
that was, a Creative Commons thing that I found many years ago that I really appreciated.
Okay, fair enough. I
But,
really, really do like that one.
um, let's see if I can, uh, find the image I can
If
throw it up.
you throw up something here that I'm like, I did not catch because I've caught a few things.
Mhm.
I have caught a few.
Yeah, I'll throw it in the banner here.
Okay. All right. I'm watching the
Well,
banner now, and it's going to be delayed by about 12 seconds.
yeah, so it's in, do 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 bap, bap-a-doo, bap-a-doo, bap-a-doo. Open fantasy art. It is, yeah, this one.
I'm looking at my screen over here because I've got two screens, and I'm just
Oh,
looking and I'm just
give
looking for
me
this change.
give me half a sec. I have to modify that a little bit so
Okay.
people can actually see it on the screen.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Uh, I'm just gonna throw the Turing back for a moment, and
Oh, that
I'll
is AI art, isn't it?
throw an image up. Create a new image. Paste this in. Do do do. And I apologize for the folks on the podcast. This will probably get edited out before it hits podcast format. There we go.
Oh, I will probably edit out this entire part.
There we go. So now on screen, this is the skyline of your womb.
That is AI art, eh?
Yep. It started off as a Creative Commons, and I attributed the author, and I said, "This is what I'm looking for," and change it, and change it, and change it, and change it, and yeah, that's kind of where it ran to. So
And the cool thing again about um AI art and talking about it is I think this would be a great piece to give to an artist and be like, I want something feeling like this.
yeah, exactly.
And yeah, you could submit something like this, which is crazy to think about.
Yep.
Um,
I certainly can't
very
fucking
easily.
draw it.
No, but and it's there. There's a certain part about it, but if you ever ask AI art to draw humans, there's always something a
Oh,
little
it's
weird.
wiggy. It's wiggy.
It's
Like
wiggy.
I showed you that gunship video, right?
Yes.
So for folks in the doobly doo, I'm gonna throw a link to the folks that are chatting on YouTube right now. And this specific video, I don't know if YouTube will actually link it or not, but I'll see if it pulls through on here.
Well, James is looking for this video. I'm just going to talk about my beer I'm drinking right now, which is the
There we
Aeronaut, the white wine barrel peach goza.
go. Mhm.
Absolutely delightful beer. Zero Issue has a knack for making really nice fruited sours.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I haven't had one I haven't enjoyed.
Um,
Really really good beers.
one of the questions from chat that we have here is programs that we use for world and map generation.
Mm,
They're building their own homebrew. So can of beans, I use Wonderdraft specifically,
yep.
because this it's a company. I can't use Incarnate free for doing a lot of things. Incarnate is a really good tool if you're using it for homebrew stuff. There's some corporate licensing hurdles and stuff you have to get around. Wonderdraft, much like Dungeon Draft, you pay for it. I think it's about 25 or 30 bucks, and you own it for the rest of your life. Uh,
Which
they
is
ask
nice.
they ask that you keep it installed only on one computer at a time. But there's no enforcement of any of that. So, make your choices, you do you. The designers are lovely people. Thankfully, they haven't done anything shitty on the internet that I found. So those kinds of things. But Wonderdraft is how I do all my maps, and Dungeon Draft is how I do all of my um like dungeon maps and like the really nitty-gritty stuff. Um
So
sorry, 30 US dollars to pick it
yeah.
up. But you can actually find it occasionally on different sites for stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've seen
Um
it on Humble Bundle before.
yeah, exactly. I think I got mine on Humble Bundle for like $21 Canadian. So, yeah. Praise be to the Humble Bundles. But yeah, it is totally worth looking at. If you check out our stream, like our D&D Nailor stream, almost all of the maps that you see there are either Pathfinder maps, that I have a bunch of packages that I threw into Roll20,
Yep.
or they're maps that I did up in Wonderdraft or Dungeon Draft. Dungeon Draft
And
is the same tool. It's just got different templates, so it's more granular. It's less hills and mountains and more walls and sconces and stuff.
walls, sconces, more like you can build a cabin in the middle of like a little forested
Yeah,
area kind of thing.
yeah. And then have a smarmy asshole with a tree in it.
Yeah, and there could be that smarmy asshole talking to anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Watch the stream.
But
It's
yeah,
worthwhile.
so it has been an interesting week talking about necessary evils and evils in general and things
Mhm.
like that. Um coming from DM,
Mhm.
what do you think is a necessary evil in a campaign? Like, what is something that you want to always include in a campaign,
So
albeit
this
a little evil?
this actually gets to the heart of the matter, and this is what I was
Oh,
planning on talking about tonight.
I did a good segue without realizing it.
Yeah, funny how that works.
Yeah.
So, um, tabletop games are uh, a it's basically just an improv of antagonist protagonist for the
Hmm.
most part. So you need good antagonists,
Yes.
and depending on the wants and needs of your players, those antagonists drastically shift. And
Yes.
this is why session zeros are so important because and I've used this example many times. If 3 out of the 4 players are coming and expecting gritty realism like bullet time, everybody's wearing Kevlar shenanigans.
Max Payne type
Yeah. And
thing. Yeah.
and then Riley shows up with Princess Soldier Sally Moon, his magical girl, who is fucking shenanigans and sparkles. Somebody at that table's not gonna have a good time,
No.
right? So it's a matter of managing some expectations and making sure that you're making choices in your game that are gonna fit with the tone of the game. We talk about tone an awful lot.
Yeah.
Likewise, your antagonists need to fit the kind of story that your players are interested in telling.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means twirly mustache evil, and sometimes that means, you know, he's right. The villain's right. You've been going about this the whole time, like blindly, inanely, and naively. They're not wrong in what they're doing.
But it's
And
not a line. Yeah. Yeah.
right, like, and it makes for interesting games. Um, Same
I
with you need a lot of the times you need mooks.
You do need
You need
mooks.
foot soldiers, and you need mooks. You need charismatic individuals that can succeed on yeah, serve burgers in a burger joint, tacos in a taco joint. Like, but sometimes somebody wants the burger chalupa served in a commemorative tote bag. And that's when you just throw dragons at them.
All right, we've
I
entered
need
the
to
dragon part of Dungeons and
I
Dragons.
need
Are
to
you
get that on
ready?
a t-shirt. Dragons, the commemorative tote bag of like necessary evil villains. You get a dragon and you
And
get a
you get a
dragon.
dragon, and
Everybody gets
gets a
humpback whales.
dragon.
Um the other side of it is the you can write a really interesting bad guy, but without all of the supports that make them real, it doesn't matter. You can have the most powerful, cool, twirly mustached necromancer around, or eldritch being, or whatever you want to do,
Or a guy in a pinstripe suit
or a
where your
dude in a pinstripe
character's
suit.
just
There's Max Payne can absolutely be a magical girl, and I shouldn't, you um Frank Castle, magical Punisher girl. Yeah, that probably exists on the internet. But
God, if it doesn't, some
villains are only as good as the support systems that you draw around them.
yes, yes.
And that means that the bad guys have resources too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the bad guys have access to a lot of the same things you do. All those wicked weird hijinks that you get up to, they can weaponize. It's the thing.
Yep.
And part of how I like running villains is what is the most brutal PC that I can make? And okay, now most of the builds, quote unquote builds that you would make for a PC, they're
Yeah.
not very fun to play. They're
No.
interesting to like kind of like Mindsmith and stuff, but
Yeah.
and Theorycraft. But you wouldn't want to play one for very long because it's a lot of them tend to be one trick ponies and yada yada yada. Nobody wants
And
to
one
play
trick.
Pun Pun.
No, no. You know what? It's funny that you bring pun pun up and just like the kind of expectations. Like people talk about these crazy ass builds, like
Mhm.
even coffee lock and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's like That's not fun.
It's fun for a certain type of player,
Yeah,
but if it doesn't fit the tone of your game, somebody's not gonna have fun.
yeah,
And
exactly.
the a good example that gets thrown around a lot is if somebody's playing a champion fighter and somebody's playing a battle master fighter, one of those fighters is not having a good time, either
New.
because they feel like they're doing all the work or because they're like, "I swing my sword and I hit," and the other guy's like, "I do 37 maneuvers and win the day." Like, yeah, polearm master, glaive, battle master shenanigans.
Yeah,
Cleave, power attack. Cleave,
leave
power attack.
power attack.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah,
Interesting
it's
tidbit. The single most underutilized ability in 5th edition is in Great Weapon Master. Because with Great Weapon Master, when you kill something or score a critical hit, you get to swing again as a bonus action. And people
yeah,
forget about that shit.
yeah. Well, it's almost like there are a few things in 5e that are a little bit funny.
Yeah, funny.
Funny how that works with any role playing game.
But that being said, bad guys are as good as the support systems that you build into them. So,
And that makes a lot of sense, especially when we're talking about trying to bring in a new character or something like that, or trying to make the bad guy feel believable.
or dangerous.
Yeah.
Like it's easy enough to be like, oh no, he's super high level and has a bunch of spells and stuff, and it's fine. And
Yeah.
yes, it's as a bonus action, but it's still a better action economy than anything else.
Yeah.
The extra swing from cleaving. But
Oh, okay. Yes.
the thing that we run into problematically here is that when D&D was first conceived, or TTRPGs in general,
Hmm.
it was really easy to be like, orcs are evil. Goblins are evil. Why? Goblins. Why? Because fucking goblins. They're evil. They enjoy doing evil things. Have you read Goblin Slayer?
Oh,
Goblins are evil as shit.
well, I mean, I
Look at what they do. They're goblins. Of course they're evil. They have no redeeming qualities. And of course, that line of thinking is problematic, right?
well, I mean, yes, and you're very right. And there's actually Pathfinder is not any better for this. And I'm just going to quickly say this. Have you heard the Goblin song?
I have. I have indeed.
The Goblin song. Goblins chew and goblins bite. Goblins cut and goblins fight. And
Yeah.
it's literally just about how goblins just are the worst things ever.
Yeah, it's very stereotypical and like the
Mhm.
bad guys for the sake of bad guys and mooks for the sake of mooks are fine. The trouble is that a lot of them came from damaging places, right? A lot of those
Yes,
stereotypes are coming from terrible places.
they
So
very much so
I
are.
like Matt Colville's take on things where it's like orcs aren't evil, those orcs are evil. Why? Because look at the banner that they're carrying with them and that they're flying under. Oh, is it that time?
I think it is for me.
Hmm. Well, I'm gonna roll again because I've run out of beer.
I just chose one because I really wanted to have this one.
And that looks like 3.
Oh, I'll roll still because that's half the fun.
Left to
Oh
right or
my
right to left?
right to left.
That's gonna be Temple Spruce Tip Porter, 6%.
Ooh, I
Artist
like
is
this
Ian
spruce
Nichols.
tip.
Nicholas?
Yes,
Ian Nicholas.
Ian Nicholas. He's one of their like, he's one of their like kind of standard artists, and
Yeah.
I love spruce tips in beer. If we're talking about cool things in beer, spruce tips, not utilized enough
Ooh,
in any kind of beverage.
I just splashed myself. Something fierce. Look, the can got a little excited, and it preemptively sauced me.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. And I'm only
That's
gonna be able
nice.
to pour half of this beer. God damn it.
Spruce Tip Porter, stout,
Yep.
and like a proper stout. It's dark enough I can't
Porter.
see through it.
Porter.
Hmm?
Porters and stouts are different.
No, it says Spruce Tip Porter, stout beer.
What?
Yeah.
Show me that can. Show me that can.
Yeah.
Spruce tip. Yeah, I can't see it. I can't read it.
Don't worry about it. It's good.
All right.
Drinky clinkies. Yeah.
Drinky
So
Twinkies.
the idea, and again, circling back, Matt Colville's idea of it's not though orcs are not bad, goblins are not bad. Those goblins are bad.
Yes.
That race of people, not bad, or that culture of people, not bad. Those people particularly, and what do you mean those people? Those people flying under that banner have aligned themselves politically with a terrible cause. Therefore, they are fair game,
Mhm.
right? It's not
Well,
Marquesians are evil. It's those people appear to be Marquesian and also serve the Dreadlord Gorgon.
yes, and I particularly like playing goblin characters or
Yeah,
those kind of characters, kobolds, etc., things like that, because A, they're fun. Playing the small characters is always a little bit
mhm.
funny.
I'm a gnome
Um,
player myself. I like
well,
gnomes. Gnomes are
exactly.
fun.
And I always tried to find a way, but I would always get told by DMs previously, like, no, that's an evil race. Like, people aren't going to
That's
like you.
That's fucking lazy. Like, there's certain amounts, and we have moved beyond this. Like,
Hmm.
there's a certain amount of, and I'm guilty of this myself, where it's like, if you're playing what is known as a monstrous race, like a goblin or a kobold or whatever, you might have some social struggles where up until recently, goblins were seen as a scourge on this land.
Yes.
And it was only through, you know, the the heroic actions of Zug Zug the Goblin, blah, 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 that people actually maybe started changing their minds. But there's still gonna be certain people that are like, fuck you, Goblin. Why? Because you're a goblin. And that parodies real life. There's always gonna
Sorry,
be
wait a
people that are
minute.
like,
Are you saying these are parallel to real life?
fucking funny how that works.
Oh my god.
You ever heard of Kick a Ginger Day? It's bullshit.
I actually, in high school, when that happened, a kid ran up to me and was like about to kick me, and I'm like, I looked at him and I said, I will kick you back twice as hard because you're half my size.
I had the fortune of hitting 13 years old and going to like 6 foot 220.
Yes.
You don't get stuffed in a locker.
No, you don't. A kid was a high school story. Kid was making fun of me. I was about this much taller than him,
Yep.
and he made fun of me, and I just did grab, throw up against the locker, and he fell down to the ground.
For the podcast, Riley's gesturing with his hands of
Yes,
about 2.5 feet.
yes, about 2.5 feet, and yeah, I just pick him up, throw him into the locker, and walk away.
One of the interesting things, and to Chat's point, um, yeah, this is one of the reasons that Eberron remains my favorite D&D setting.
It's
Is
a cool setting.
goblins have their own unique cultural mannerisms, like they are scavenging hoarders that are attracted to the shinies for all intents and purposes. They live in the places that most like upper crust humans probably wouldn't live. And they're okay with that because it affords them business opportunities. And like playing goblins like Ferengi is just on point the majority of the time.
Yeah, and I like that kind of that kind of goblin, that kind of like where it isn't just Imma stab you because I'm hiding in a cave and you came into my cave.
Yeah. Or it's like interesting um traps. Intelligent kobolds, the kobold death trap, I think it's
Yes.
um what's it called?
Kobold
Um
catapult or
sorry,
kobold.
no, it's Tucker's kobolds. Have you ever seen Tucker's kobolds?
Mm-mm.
So it's a thing out of Dragon 127. And it kobolds are really described as cunning creatures, excellent trap makers, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And Tucker's kobolds was a thing that got featured in Dragon magazine, and it basically posited that You should not be able to survive an encounter with kobolds because they always know, they always plan like Batman, and there are always more kobolds.
Mhm.
And you go into a dungeon, and they've set all of their cool traps that murder you on the way in and murder you on the way out. You can't trigger them until you're on your way out trying to leave. And then they run away, and they get more kobolds. And if you manage to get out, by the time you come back, they've reset all the traps in different ways. Like if you ever have the opportunity,
Yeah.
go look up Tucker's Kobolds as has been written in chat. It is it is worthwhile and it makes you want to play a kobold and write these into your adventures. It's just it's good writing.
Yeah,
But
again, I am a huge fan of like of the tinkering kobolds or like the mechanical kobolds, like that kind of thing, because they're intelligent little bastards that will fuck your day.
yeah, and like to the point of chat, Dargun in Eberron, um monstrous races being a thing and, potentially having social ramifications. And Eberron, they're just like, no, this is the nation of monstrous races. They were like, fuck all you people. We're gonna make our own country, and we're gonna have cotton candy, and the hobgoblins will be in charge. That's gonna be a thing, right? Um, but it's interesting because all of a sudden you've got a political bent to things where it's like you're warring with these people not because of who they are, but because of the resources that they have and they share your borders, and it's like you get to tell more interesting stories that way, right?
Yeah.
And there are different modules within Eberron that I recall reading, and but there's a boatload of novels for Eberron too, where some NPCs or characters in the novel are like, fuck that guy from Dargun. Why? Because he's from Dargun. And sometimes it's fuck that guy. Why? Because he's a hobgoblin. And it's like, oh, I immediately have a bent on or an understanding of what this character is about based on how he described his opponents here. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I don't know. It's just with the way how the game has been slowly changing over time
Yeah.
has been very interesting to see, because I started back in 3.5.
Me
I
too.
played a campaign.
Well, three. But
Yeah. Well, yeah, I played. Yeah, I did 3.5. My first class. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this out loud because I'm an idiot. Um, my first class was a cleric,
I too.
and I proudly said to my friends as we were all reading this together, I'm going to play the Chedric.
I see. And how does that make you feel?
The fact that my friend brought it up at my wedding, still embarrassed to this day.
So why?
Why? Why? Because I mispronounced it. Because I misread it. But
Okay.
but it's still one of the things I laugh about it now, but like when I was young, I was so embarrassed because I misread the word.
That's fair. My first D&D character was also a cleric.
Oh.
Um in 3rd edition.
Mhm.
Human, mounted combatant, rode around on a war horse with a lance and a shield,
Yes.
played in a one-on-one, one player, one DM campaign for like 3-4 weeks, then made some more friends. As my voice cracks a little bit as I say that, that was just fucking perfect.
Yes.
But start with clerics. It's a good time.
But the necessary evil of all, of course, is time.
It is.
As we are coming to the end of the podcast here.
We are
And
indeed. We're at about an hour. Now,
yeah,
we've got kind of a interesting thing because you don't release podcasts until you have at least 4 episodes, and this would be
exactly.
episode number 4. So, while you can always find this on our YouTube channel at Legends of Logomancy, and feel free to share it out with your friends and family and all sorts of bits. At this point,
Please
we're
do.
sitting at a massive 75 subscribers.
Woo!
Yeah. On podcast platforms, you never release anything until you have at least 4 for people to binge through. So, probably looking at next week, this is gonna be available on Apple Podcasts, on, Anchor FM, for Spotify, um, maybe Podbean. We'll see. It depends on how far I get in the week and what things are,
Also
looking like for next
depends
week, so
on if I can make sure I can get all the podcast episodes edited too. But
Yeah, I mean, editing being what it is, that's the thing. I still have to edit the last 2 episodes of our game and all of the bees out of it.
God, so many bees.
Many, many bees.
Many,
So,
many bees.
yeah, seems like a reasonable place to end. Um, Thank you guys for hanging out and chatting and drinking some beer with us, and hopefully your beer has been as cold as ours because
Yes.
my wife bought me a mini fridge, and it's great.
Sorry, before we leave, I didn't even say what beer I was drinking. My
Oh,
second beer was, by the way, Bywater by Zero Issue Brewing, which is their blonde ale, which is just a nice clean blonde,
you know what's
nothing
interesting?
crazy. Hmm.
Is, Clone is a copy of Bywater.
Are you telling me that Clone is a copy of a beer?
It absolutely is, and you know why I know that? It's because when you look up Clone on their website, it's zeroissuebeer.com/copy of Bywater.
Well, this beer is technically a clone of another beer,
Yeah.
but it's not a clone of Bywater.
Oh, well, their website would lead you to believe otherwise because it's listed as, copy of Bywater
I
in
don't
the chat.
know. That's actually really funny. Um, I don't know if this is necessarily fully secret, but take a look at this little piece of art right here.
Yeah,
For
I'm looking
those
at
of you, if those of you who cannot see this, if they're on the podcast,
mhm,
it is a picture of a almost gondola looking piece of machinery here.
mhm,
At least the little cabin there.
yeah.
Now, if there was an avalanche that involved coffee from a different brewery, I don't know if that would have anything to do with that.
Hmm, interesting.
Interesting.
Have to take that away and think about it. I really enjoyed Clone. I
Yes,
is it part of their core lineup?
it is part of their core lineup.
Good. I need to go and
Highly.
get, like, 100 of them to take camping
Camping. Yes, it is 100% a camping beer. You wake up, you crack that, that's your coffee for the morning.
because that will stay cold in a creek all night,
Yes, very
and
much
I
so.
don't even think that my camping partner would get gout from drinking it, so it'd be okay.
No, fair enough.
It didn't happen last time, but, you know, apparently it's all my fault.
Ah,
Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be around maybe next week, maybe the week after. We'll see what the schedules
this
line up
is
as.
this is almost like it's a bi-weekly, kind of
Yeah, like
podcast.
Christmas
Oh
is
my
coming,
gosh.
and that makes things challenging all the time. But we'll see what happens. So
All right.
thank you everybody for
Thank
stopping
you.
by, and we'll see you on Monday for our Dungeons and Dragons
My
stream.
leg!
Monday night at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can come and watch us play Dungeons and Dragons with our friends on
Oh
the
my
YouTubes.
gosh.
And I'm going to kill a bunch of chuckleheads using
What?
some really cool. I'll get to that later.
What?
Fi- Fish, Wolverine, Honey Badger bullshit.
What?
I
No.
and we're done.